Protests have put police brutality and reform in the spotlight. And you may have heard that Camden, New Jersey's police department has it all figured out. But now some critics are saying, don't believe the hype. Our Jeff Cole reports.
No justice, no peace.
Calls to defund the police are rising in the protests over the George Floyd death. Pointed to as a model for successful policing is the Camden County Force, patrolling Camden for 7 years now.
Camden was not defunded. It was an illegal, corrupt takeover.
Standing in front of City Hall, activists argue the rosy view of the county force is a PR stunt.
I see people shooting up. I see people making transactions. I see prostitution going on. And I see cop cars sitting, just sitting there.
It was May of 2013 when the city police department was dropped for a county force with 380 cops and a $69 million budget. County leaders say homicides are down from 67 in 2012, the final year of the old force, to 25 last year. Activists say the murder numbers mislead.
I don't want people to die, but you have to look at that in context. Look at it in the context that we still have a very high per capita murder rate. Look at it in the context that we are still the most dangerous city in the state of New Jersey.
While activists argue the number of serious crimes remains high, county leaders say violent crime has dropped 42%.
I don't think anybody is going to be flying a mission accomplished banner, but we have made tangible, valid progress.
A county spokesperson says all crime is down from the results seen under the city force, but admits the number of minority officers, 54%, needs to grow. Still, he says Camden is safer.
It's a police presence that didn't exist prior, and that police presence is foundationally based in community policing. And it's based on engagement, dialogue, and really building relationships.
Activists want to return to a city force with cops who live there, with a focus on neighborhoods.
Back in the hood, while they're patrolling the downtown and the waterfront, the drug dealers are having a party on every block in the city.
Jeff Cole, Fox 29 News.
Good afternoon, good morning, actually, Grand Risings, and welcome to today's community-driven press conference of concerned Camden residents, students, parents, faith-based leaders, and community stakeholders. My name is Dickerson, lifelong and proud Camden resident and national organizer for the Journey for Justice Alliance. We come before you today with a united message about the national narrative that has been trending nationwide about the Camden County Police Department Metro Division. We are here to challenge the notion that the Camden County Metro Police Department should not be highlighted as a model for the nation. Today you will hear 4 buckets that debunk the myths of the Camden Metro Police Department. Fact-checked, factual data that will combat the PR stunt that has been happening on local, national, and worldwide news. Background, the tale of 2 cities that will give some texture to how we arrived at this moment. Divest, invest. Where should the big piggy bank of funds flowing into the Camden County Police Department really land? Our community demands a do-now list for local, state, and national leaders to dive into. Lastly, we would like to say to MSNBC, CNN, local news, and more importantly, Camden residents, you have been lied to. So let us get started. We're going to start with our very own Camden resident, Mr. Roy Jones, for our fact check.
You lower the stand.
My name is Minister Roy Jones. I've been a 51-year long activist in the city of Camden. And so we have a lot to say about the Camden County Metro Police concept and model. My responsibility is just to present some facts about whether this model is in fact a successful model and whether or not this model should be modeled for the nation. Our conclusion is that it should not be modeled for the nation for several reasons. The first reason is because this model was not designed or developed by the citizens of Camden. In fact, when the citizens of Camden challenged and went to court over establishing the Camden County Metro Division, the city mayor and the political bosses of Camden County went to court against the citizens of Camden to challenge us. What happened in court was that after 2 years of prolonging the court battle, the county instituted the department anyway, but the court ruled, the New Jersey Supreme Court ruled, that the whole concept of the Camden Metro was illegal. So we want to say to the nation that's considering this issue of looking into Camden, the Camden County Metro model as a success for the nation, we want to let you know that the New Jersey Supreme Court ruled the concept illegal. The other point that we want to make today is that all during the genesis, the start of the Metro Police Department, Camden experienced some of the highest murders in the nation. In fact, in 2012, we were declared the murder capital of America. This was the beginning of the Metro Division. And I want to share with the nation and to everyone here that when you look at the state police reports of crime data for Camden, there were 34,888 instances of crime committed against the people of Camden in those 8 years. I want to repeat that. 34,888 incidents of crime committed against the people of Camden over those years that the Metro Department has been in place. That means that on average, 4,300 incidents a year the people of this city had to experience. That tells us clearly that the model is not working and that it should not be a model for the nation. One of the more important points that I want to make has to do with their contention that the murder rate is basically because it decreased. This is their sole platform and indicator that the model is working. But I want you to know, citizens and media, there are 28 categories of crimes committed against the citizens of Camden. I want to list how many incidents other than murder that the people faced in this city. First, you should know that over 8 years, 287 murders were committed in this city. In those 8 years, 543 women were raped in this city. 4,114 robberies were committed in this city. 4,498 aggravated assaults was committed against the people of Camden. 7,939 burglaries were committed against the people of Camden. 13,474 larceny thefts were committed against the people of Camden. 4,498 aggravated assaults were committed against the people of Camden. If you add all of those incidents up, it amounts to 34,888 incidents against the people of Camden. This is proof that the Camden County Metro Department model is not working and that it should not be a model for the nation. I'm going to leave you with one more piece of data. Amen. I'm going to leave you with another piece of data. In the media, I want you to pay close attention to this. They cite murder, the murder rate decline, as a reason why the model is working. But I want to cite 28 categories of crimes that they never report to the media or to the nation or to our national leaders. Of course, they report murder. They don't report rape. They don't report robberies. They don't report aggravated assaults. 5, they don't report burglaries. They don't report thefts. They don't report motor vehicle thefts. They don't report manslaughter rates. They don't report simple assault rates. They do not report arson rates in the city. They do not report forgery rates in the city. They do not report the number of fraud committed against people in the city. They do not report embezzlement against the people of the city. They don't report data related to stolen property or criminal mischief or weapon offenses or sex offenses or drug abuse offenses or gambling offenses or disorderly conduct and other offenses related to crime in Camden. 20 other categories of crimes are being committed against the people of this city. The media, the leaders of this nation should know the Camden County Metro model is not and should not be considered a model for the nation. In conclusion, I want to say this. This cumulative depiction of Camden City crime shatters any notion that residents are safe. And I want to repeat that. It shatters every notion that the city is safe. With 34,888 incidents against the people of Camden, how could you say with a straight face that the people of Camden are in fact safe? The model is not only not a model for the city, it is not a model for the county, it is not a model for the state, and it is certainly not a model for the nation. Thank you.
Great job, man. Great job, man.
Y'all have to understand that we are still in the middle of a global pandemic. We're still practicing social distancing, and us as African Americans and black people in this country are still in mourning. So bear with us, because this should not be happening right now, but we are here to make sure our voices are heard. So now I want to move over to a little bit of background. I want to bring up Brother O.G. Baba Madi to give us a little bit of background.
Good morning. My name is Reverend O.G. Baba Madi, and I'm the Social Justice Minister at the Asbury Community Church and the founder of Watu Moja, which is a global youth leadership program connecting African American and Afro-Latino young people to the global African community. I won't be long before you, but we need to dispel a few notions. The first notion that we need to dispel is that we are anti-police. Many of us have friends that are on the police force. We're not anti-police, we are pro-justice.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so the romantic relationship that is now accrued between Camden and the watching world, from our perspective as residents who are committed to justice, is not so much romance but dysfunction. So the background for those cities that are considering this, first you probably need a governor like Christopher Christie, who oversaw the continuation of garbage, literally, and sewage being pumped into our city, but yet cutting the aid from the state to the city. So we take all the mess while he cuts the aid. So thus, Governor Christie created a crisis that now he and the others in the political machinery are taking credit for fixing. So now that the budget was cut severely, now you had to make changes in what you spent. So what did you do? You fired the police force. You did not engage the community. Please get this story. The community was not engaged. I, at the time, was a member of the Concerned Black Clergy of Camden. We were not engaged. Other community groups were not engaged. Okay, so that is a myth. If we were engaged, why would the people of Camden sue the city? They sued the city so that there would be actual public engagement. So later the court found out that we were right, but the mayor sued the people. What kind of public engagement is that? So we get the new force, ramrod it down our throats. It is a whiter force. Freeholder Capelli brags that the force is now 50% diverse. I don't know, but we're living in a city that's almost 95% black and brown, now patrolled by an outside force that does not live in our city. And if you don't live in our city, you do not understand our city and our people. And so now we have this new force. Reverend Jones talked about the elevated murder rate after this. So are those victims of murder a suitable sacrifice for this political maneuver? I think not. We knew many of these people who were murdered, especially the young people. So where do we stand today? We stand today as still the most crime-ridden city in the state of New Jersey. Our murder rate is more than twice of Newark. We stand today as a city that still has a very high per capita murder rate, generally higher than the city of Chicago. We stand right now after three people shot this weekend, over 175 shootings in a city of 70,000 people. This is not the romance story that is being portrayed throughout the nation. This is a story that needs further and deeper scrutiny, looking at the numbers and talking to the true people who live here and have been through all the hell that we've endured, only looking for justice. Thank you.
Beautiful. Great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So now let's dive into some testimonies. It seems as though the nation is eating up, calling and talking to people to get the testimonies of how well this police force has done. Let's get some honest testimonies from the community that has been directly impacted by the police force. So I want to bring up our first testimony from Mr. Colundus Francis. Mr. Francis? He's the former NAACP president for Camden County, Kansas City.
Good morning. Also known as Kelly Francis, probably better known, but I've been around in Camden since 1949 and haven't ever left the city. Educated here, Rutgers, Camden High School, Rutgers, and have been observing the Camden City Police Department very closely since 1987. And I have thousands of documents and data regarding the Camden City Police Department over those past 33 years. Now, this notion that the Camden County Police is a model, of course, is a sham. It's one of the two greatest scams perpetrated on the city of Camden. And the second one, of course, is the takeover of our school district by the corporate Renaissance charter school operators. So those are the two greatest scams perpetrated on the city of Camden and this so-called model police department, which is a failure. And I'll give you an example. In 2017, in the three-county area, Burlington County, Camden County, and Gloucester County, there are 102 municipalities in those three counties. 102. And among those 102 municipalities over three counties, there were a total of 27 homicides. 27 in three counties, 102 municipalities. That same year in the city of Camden, there were 24. Almost as many as were in the three counties, 102 municipalities. So that tells you, speaks volumes of how safe or not safe the city of Camden is. The crime rate in the city of Camden, for example, is 30% higher than Chicago. If you look at the per capita crime rate and not total numbers, our crime rate in 2017 was 30% higher than Chicago, 900% higher than New York City, 50% higher than Philadelphia, 400% times higher than Los Angeles. So that's, and here's another one. Hold on to your seatbelts. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. Mexico. Now, we advise people not to go to Mexico because of the high murder rate, the crime in Mexico. In 2017, our per capita homicide rate was 50% higher than Mexico. There are 128 million people in Mexico. They had 29,000 homicides, and that represents 50% higher than the city of the ours were 50% higher than Mexico's murder rate, and it's still. And we've been number one in the country for the past maybe 10, 15 years. We've been in the top 5 of the country consistently for the past 15 years. And we've always been number one in New Jersey as far as violent crime. We've been number one, and we're still number one. So that gives you some facts and data about the scam that they're trying to perpetrate on the entire country. Not just New Jersey, but the entire country. They're running this scam about this great police department. Okay? All right.
Great job. Great job. Thank you, Mr. Kelly Francis. Thank you so much. So again, we're standing here today just to debunk all the conversation around Camden County Police Department being the national model. We as residents here inside the city, we want to make sure that everyone who can hear our voices are very clear that this is not the model that we want the nation to think that is doing well in the city of Camden. We as the residents, community stakeholders, clergy, faith-based, we are all concerned about what's happening in our city. So I want to go to another testimony. I want to bring up Crystal Evans, who would like to share her testimony of the Camden County Police Department. Former City Council of Gloucester Township. Yep.
In Camden County. Thank you. Just want to make it very brief. It perplexes me that we lost a group of police officers that was disbanded because that particular group was very diverse. In the city of Camden, that police department had a third African American, a third Latino, and a third white police officers, each serving in this community. Got rid of them, and he brings in the Metro Police, and they're predominantly all white. Got a problem here, because we have lost the diversity now. So I implore our city, our country, to really look into the real reason why this Metro Police was really bought in. Because we needed to keep that diversity with what we had, and to bring in a whole different group of individuals, that's going to only open up a can of worms. Thank you.
I'm sorry, ma'am. What is the real reason then why they were brought in? You just raised that issue. What's the real reason?
Well, yeah, we're not taking any questions right now on that, but as we can... Absolutely.
Just say your name one more time.
Crystal Evans.
Thank you.
We can hold our questions for the end. We have a space for you all to ask questions. About to wrap up. So there's a huge difference between disbanding and defunding. And there's a huge difference between reform and transform. And we, the community, are sharp and skilled enough to see the difference. When you strip the local police department down to its bare bones, when you destroy the narrative of Camden with national messages of Camden being ranked the most dangerous and poorest city in the country, when your mayor and local city administration abuse their power to put their knees on the neck of the residents that are screaming, "I can't breathe, do not take away our local control," you get an alleged shiny model. Investment looks like invested in areas of organizations that have been the model of prevention programs that connect to our youth and family. Why not invest in our grassroots black and brown led programs and social service programs that are safe havens for our youth and families? When the sun sets, those places are open. Why not invest in our schools and give our students the tools? How can felon schools and successful police department exist in the same city? So we're asked at that point, I want to bring up our student to speak. Isaiah is at Creative Arts in her last year, and she wants to share her story about how she feels about the police department.
Hi, hello. My name is Isaiah Davis. I'm an 18-year-old. I go to Creative Arts. I graduated for 2020 class this year. Today, I'll be speaking on behalf of For My Youth today. So recently we had a march that took place at the police station a couple weeks ago. And I spoke on behalf of my youth because I didn't see a lot of my youth out, mostly because my youth is very uncomfortable, including me, uncomfortable around Camden County Police Department, and also Metro. I spoke on that basically a lot of the kids and youth in our city, they feel as though that we're not disciplined and we can't discipline ourselves. And I also I also had an event that would have took place last Tuesday called the Youth #Blackout Tuesday. And I also had got a call from the captain from Camden County Police Department asking me if I could have it at a different time or with another event that I had no knowing of who event it was. I didn't want to be bombarded. I know they probably didn't want to be bombarded. And I felt as though the youth needs their own voices to speak up. We are the new generation. That's right. Yes. And also, when he asked us to come up here for a meeting, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go personally, especially not by myself, so I was going to bring my guardian, but my guardian has went through things with Camden Police Department and different officers. That's why she doesn't want to be up here, because they are very uncomfortable. So, speaking of, my friend made on social media a post asking if anybody would like to come up with us. We wasn't saying it was a march, we just needed a couple of people. Me and him would go in by ourselves for the meeting. Call me at 11 o'clock at night. One, I don't think that's appropriate, especially for a minor or a child, anybody. You shouldn't be calling that late. So we also have now, we're having a youth day and a march tomorrow. And the march will start at Millennium at 1:30 and it'll end at Camden High Park. So at the march, we'll be giving a list of demands, not only to the Camden County Police Department, but also to the Camden County Councils and the Board District. So the first list of demands that we have for the Camden County would be cops replaced with counselors, nurses, and trained community members. Camden County Police Department should be more diverse with people of color, and not only people of color, but for our city. I don't know how else to express that people look from out of the city, especially because we have cops that are not from our city, so they look at us differently. And I feel uncomfortable. I know a lot of my youth that feel uncomfortable. Ms. Vida was just talking at the other meeting about how she had to come outside out in Centerville and step out to let the cops know to leave the kids alone. I feel as though, I don't know if it's our skin that you're scared of, or is it our coils, or the way we look, the way we walk. But I just feel as though it's very important that our youth is educated about certain things. And this is not the end. This will continue every June 16th. This is now called the Youth #Blackout Tuesday. I'll be making sure this happens every year. You can get notified. We'll have different things for the councils, for our demands, also for the Board of Education, and also for the Camden Police Department. And we would like for them to defund in certain things in the Camden Police Department, as far as like buying slingshots and other motorcycles that they don't need, that can go towards funding for art programs, funding for programs for after-school programs, trips, better food in schools. And that's really just all I wanted to speak on today. Thank you.
Thank you. From the mouth of the youth, and she represents multiple youth inside this city. And we'll round out our last testimony with a person who's been on the streets before, and he wants to tell the story of how he's seen how the Metro Department and his relationship has changed since then. So Gary, you want to come and give your testimony?
How you doing? My name is Gary Samuels, born and raised Camden, New Jersey. I've been addicted to crack for 30-something years. I've been in and out of prison. I've been from the old county jail to the new county jail, and I've seen policing firsthand. I could tell you I see a change in policing from the crack epidemic to the opioid epidemic. I don't know what changed. Could it have been the color of the addict? See, because I remember getting locked up for empty drug bags, too many lighters, standing on the corner of my own community, where I live, where I am from, and I had to walk on eggshells because it was 2 or 3 days a week that they ran down on the corners. But I can ride through Camden now, and I can tell you I see people shooting up. I see people making transactions. I see prostitution going on, and I see cop cars sitting. Just sitting there, just watching needles go in people's arms. And I have to ask the question again, is it because the color of the addict changed? See, because I lost a lot from being an addict. The same disease. But see, the solution to my disease was lock him up. Take his license, fine him, let him back out with fines that he can't pay. Take his license so he can't work. I suffered. I'm an addict just like everybody else is out there right now. But now I see that there's no consequence for addiction. And without consequence to an addict, it'll keep rolling. And it'll get bigger. And it'll get worse. So I just want to say, I've seen a change. There has been a change. There's been a change of the color of addict on Broadway. There's been a change in, do we arrest or do we send them to get counseling, rehabilitation? Do we have to give insurance to make sure that when they go into the county, they get medically detoxed? I never see anything done. I never see body slams like I had to see. I never see slammed on the ground. I never see charged with something that wasn't mine. I don't mean to get emotional, but I'm telling you the truth. The truth about Camden. The truth about police. The truth about what's going on. Cars are sitting, crime is happening. Cars are sitting, people are getting high. Cars are sitting, people are ODing.
Again, as I said in our opening statement, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and we still are mourning. And here we are having to hold a press conference to combat the national narrative. Our point is, we need for everyone in this city to invest in the needs of Camden residents. There are tons of neighborhoods in Camden where Camden is not rising. There are tons of neighborhoods where the narrative of what's happening in the front of our city, down at the waterfront, does not reflect what's happening inside of our communities. There's tons of things that are going wrong in our communities. I'm sure that our elderly community feels really good about seeing some top police officers walk the beat, but I'm sure them same residents lock their doors and cars at night because they don't really feel secure in the city. So I'm gonna bring up Pastor Khan and let him, Amir Khan, to speak about the divest and invest that's happening inside of Camden. And we're gonna round it out, we're gonna end it out.
Great. Thank you, Rancha. And thank you, Gary Samuels, for that tremendous, heartfelt, passionate testimony. You know, I'll tell you, when we talk about divest and invest, what would happen if that $68 million budget that goes to the Camden County Police Force, if a portion of that right now goes to social services? Right now, when there is an addict on the corner, a police will show up, or if you have a person talking about suicide, a police officer shows up. We are sending police officers out to certain areas where social workers can handle, pastors, the faith community can handle. There are other people who are specialists can handle. My father was a general practitioner in Camden for 54 years, but when we needed a specialist, that's who we called on. Our police officers are general practitioners. You need specialists who can come in and deal with certain things. So when Minneapolis is talking about defunding the police and using Camden as a role model, Camden was not defunded. Camden was a takeover. Are you hearing me, somebody? Camden was not defunded. It was an illegal, corrupt takeover. Never before in the history of this country have you ever seen a mayor and head of city council sue the residents after their 10,000 signatures on a petition for a referendum to say it's time to vote. And something's wrong when we get sued and they block it, they don't vote, but then we have to have the higher courts, the appellate court and the superior court to say the residents were right. But here's the famous line, oops, too late. Oops, too late. I'm here to tell you we're tired of oops, too late. We're tired of sorry, we made a mistake. We're tired of taking things back from us. It's time to bring about a change in the city of Camden. I say if we invest in social services, you have people that can reach the Gary Samuels that are out here right now. 30 years in these same streets, 30 years eating out of the trash cans here on these same block. But yet you have social services that are being defunded. I'm saying they need to be refunded. They need to be invested in. Let's divest and invest. That's what we need here in the city of Camden. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Yes, divest into divest from the police force, invest into programs that are preventative programs for our community. Invest in our students, invest in our schools, give our students what the heck they need. More counselors, not cops. culturally relevant education. Give our children what they need. Invest in what we need. Give us jobs. Where are the jobs at in Camden? Give us what us need. Give us job training. Invest in the things that will keep the city going, and the residents will be able to survive and get the needs of their human needs met. So here's our demands. We've said them already. These are not really demands. These are do nouns. Return to local control. The Camden City Police Department needs to be back to local control. We need to look at a 5-year immediate residential response to city policing. Why do the police not live in our city? Why does it not reflect our clientele? Make that mandatory. Let's get a community review board with real voting power. Not just a board that sits there and just nods their head, a rubber stamp board. We want a real voting power community review board. We want to meet with the chief of police and his rank and file officers to have this conversation immediately. And finally, we unite with all the youth demands that were given. We will not stand in disunity. We stand with them. We stand with them because the youth are the ones who are having direct contact with the police constantly. And we want to let them know that we, the community, and we represent thousands up here, stand with our youth. So in closing, we would like to caution former President Barack Obama. We want to caution the Democratic National Convention chair. We want to caution the Democratic presidential hopeful candidate. The information and model about the Camden Police Department, thank you, are bogus and needs to be revised, reformed, divested, and transformed. We, the collective voice from Camden, would be remiss if we did not give a counter to the neatly crafted narrative that developed from an innocent protest from a sincere local business owner to honor the murder of George Floyd and so many other black people that have been killed at the hands of unjust police officers. Just to add a little more sauce more spice to this saucy topic, the peaceful protest that happened 3 weeks ago in Camden that opened the floodgates for this narrative, this national narrative, the starting point of that same solidarity protest took place in a community that the majority of the same police officers and political leaders have never walked the beat. Where there's abandoned homes, pockets of businesses and high crime, and that same community that those black suburban SUVs pulled up to stand in solidarity, a very forgotten community that is hungry for transformation, and not to mention, there's a police station about 500 feet from that same high crime area. The same community that has never seen Scott Thompson either, but he's getting a building named after him. Our community does not have a professional sports team that gives us national pride. So to get national press could really feel good. The residents need a win after being called the worst for so many years, but not a fake win. We are sure our elder community again feels safe, but we have to change this narrative. And I quote a dear frontliner who's on a fight with us that will remain nameless. Show us a reduced police budget and a subsequent investment in the number of social workers, guidance counselors, addiction resources, housing, pollution reduction, job programs, and, forgive me, there's a lot of wind out here, and healthcare. And then let's talk the quote-unquote model for this country. In the words of Public Enemy, don't believe the hype. Yeah. Open for questions.
Do you know how many cops are on the street prior to the county force being there? What was the comparison to the number of cops on the street prior
Mr. Roy?
And there now?
We're a resource to each other, so I'll bring Mr. Roy up for the first resource.
Can I first respond to your question about why the Camden Metro Police Department came to existence?
I didn't ask that, sir. I understand now.
Okay, all right, let's go.
I'm asking numbers.
Okay. Several years ago, we met with the chief, and we asked a very important question. At that time, there was 400 officers, and we asked what number of officers patrol the streets of Camden in an 8-hour shift. You know what he told me out of 400 officers? 28. This is why you cannot affect crime in the city. How is it possible that 28 officers can cover 21 neighborhoods in this city effectively? So in answer, we had 400 plus officers then. Of course, the number is down now, but the critical point is this. When you go to war against an enemy, and there's 500 enemy combatants on the other side of the door, and you bring 3 of your soldiers to the door, those 500 combatants will overwhelm the 3 officers that you have. That's what the problem in Camden is.
So it's 28
patrolling
now under the Metro system in an 8-hour basis.
Right.
What
Yes,
was
sir.
it prior? Do you know?
No, I'm telling you what it was prior.
It was 400
400 officers.
in the prior Camden Police
Exactly.
Department.
Yes.
Yeah, just real quickly, the answer. Back then, it was 400 officers at that time, 400 officers of 2013. Today, there's approximately 381. But the important thing to understand is that the budget today is at $68 million. Back then, if you back out things like crossing guards and others, which was under the police department at that time, it was closer to $52 million. Right now, there's a $16 million increase with new cars, new homes. What would have happened, not new homes, but new cars, there were new equipment, all kinds of new technology. What would have happened if our Camden police officers that were black and brown, that looked like us, if they had the same kind of advantages back then, I believe our crime rate would have been down.
And they get paid less now. They get paid less money now.
Yes.
Other questions?
I do. I understand your argument that there are whole categories of crimes that aren't reported when they allege the success of this Metro force. But do you dispute that murder rates are down under the county force or not? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Anybody? Sure. Be a resource to each other.
Yeah, understand that the United States has experienced a precipitous fall in violent crime. So we should expect that in Camden. The other thing that you should consider is that in a city of 70,000 people, over 175 shootings needs to be examined, because often the numbers, as far as homicides are concerned, depend on where the bullets hit. So when you have a city with that number of shootings, that is problematic. And so when you have that many shootings on a consistent basis, you can expect this murder rate to fluctuate. What was it, 2 years ago? We had one of the highest per capita murder rates in the nation. And so this will go up and down because we still have too many guns on the street. We have too many shootings. And so we don't know where these homicide rates will go, depending literally on where people are shot.
But you would argue that certainly the murder rate in and of itself is an important counter, isn't it?
Oh, of course, I don't want people to die, but you have to look at that in context. Right. Look at it in the context that we still have a very high per capita murder rate. Look at it in the context that we are still the most dangerous city in the state of New Jersey. Not by a little bit. Again, more than twice the rate of Newark. Okay, so it's got to be in context.
Yes, the reason that they've continued to proclaim that the murder rate is going down is because they are using as a benchmark the highest murder rate in the history of Camden. The 2012, they've been using that when we had 67 homicides, an all-time record. They use that as the benchmark, and of course anything after that is less. Now, if they were to use the best murder rate, which was in 1985, when Douglas Holmes, the first black police chief, was protecting the city. Okay? And we had 87,000 people, 10 to 14,000 more people than we have today. And he only had, at his peak, during his tenure as police chief, 263 police officers. Now, you can check that out. Okay? I've already checked it out. And I was there. I was here when it happened. Okay? Now, if you use that as your benchmark, 13 homicides, which was the best in the history, then ever since then, the murder rate has been increasing. Matter of fact, last year, using that as a benchmark, 13 homicides, the best. We had 26 last year, so there was a 100% increase. A 100% increase last year in our murder rate from the best record, okay? All right? Those are the facts. Check it out.
Yeah, and just to add, just so you know, we want to make it very clear also that grassroots organizations and preventative programs have increased in Camden also. I just don't like the narrative of it's only on a police department. We, the community, have policed our community too. We've made changes in our community. So give the residents the credit that we deserve for being preventative programs and being a part of the struggle of the city. For years, we are the cornerstones of the city. We've been doing the work. We've been the ones opening our doors at night time. We are the ones that kept ourselves feeding these children when people were not feeding them. We were the ones that were not getting the funding from this building back here when we had to struggle with our children. We're in pain.
Can I just speak to Ms. Evans really quickly, and then I want to talk to her?
Question?
I just wanted to you said the real reason why this police force was put in place. What's the real reason in your view?
Well, as I mentioned, not going to go into a whole lot of details right now because I think that this may be the beginning of something hopefully that can be looked into. Because when you think about it, also, prior to the police department that was in place, my understanding is that they were covered under state insurance. And when the Metro Police Department came in, the insurance changed.
Well, what's the real reason?
And the insurance went to Connor Strong.
Okay, so the real reason was sort of...
That's part of it, I'm sure.
One of the reasons.
It's power. No, okay, but she said it. So what is the real reason? I mean,
Well, there's several reasons. I'm sure that could be a very main reason, but that's enough right there. Follow the money.
Ms. Evans, you got a resource. What, Mr. Boyd, just to follow up.
That's one of the reasons. But to the media, I want you to hear this loud and clear. The reason the Metro Force is in place came about when they started building $100 million buildings on the waterfront. Mr. Reporter, I hope you heard that. When they started building multi-million-dollar facilities on the Camden waterfront, and when they started building this building and the Cooper Hospital Medical Center and all of these, those 76ers training facility, guess why? And that is the reason why the police force is in place, to protect those executives, those suburban executives, those white suburban executives that are coming into the Camden. They want to make sure those executives are safe. Now, back in the hood, while they're patrolling the downtown and the waterfront, the drug dealers are having a party on every block in the city. Women, I read all the data, how many rapes women are facing over 8 years, sir. 543 rapes while they're patrolling the waterfront. 4,114 robberies while they're promoting and patrolling the waterfront. 4,498 aggravated assaults while they're patrolling the waterfront. There are no assaults on the waterfront. That's right. None. There are absolutely no assaults on the waterfront. Why? Because the Camden Metro Police is in place, overwhelmingly patrolling the waterfront and the downtown to make sure L3 Communications, Subaru, Campbell's Soup, the 76ers, the Aquarium, Hope Tech, American Water, that those white executives can ride in Camden in their Cadillacs and their BMWs and ride out safely. That is the bottom line, sir.
very good.
That is the bottom line.
Can we just speak to Ms. Davis?
And let me just say one thing. While you're down here downtown, while you're at the waterfront, you also have Rutgers Police, Transit Police. You have the Sheriff's Department, the State Police. You have 5 different police departments patrolling downtown in this area. Please try coming to Centerville. Please try coming to Parkside, East Camden, Kramer Hill. Please see how many departments and police cars you have there. Thank you.
All right, we're going to wrap. So this is it.
Ms. Davis, Stephen, if I could ask just one question. Is that okay?
Yeah, and we're going to be a resource for you.
Thank you. Are you fearful for of the police in some way? Are you? What are your thoughts when you see them in your neighborhoods and that of your colleagues?
I'm uncomfortable. Yes, I'm scared.
You're occupied.
Yes, I'm very scared. I mean, it's been different, not only with me, but some of my friends have came into contact and had altercations with them. So, especially in Centerville. And it's just like, kids are uncomfortable, or like having them just sit on our block, because now I live down here, and it's just like, I'm in like one of the worst neighborhoods that can really be, and you really don't see anybody out there. Or like if they are out here, they're not doing nothing. They literally watch them sit at the corner. Like it makes no sense. And then like recently it was just a shooting a couple weeks ago, like literally in front of my house. Nobody was around. Until a good 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, when everything died down, somebody had already been shot. Nobody's around. So of course we're scared. Of course we're scared to be outside or be comfortable around them. Because I know me personally, I'm very uncomfortable. I don't like being around cops. That's just me in general, because I have come into situations like that and altercations. Especially in our city, it's always been like that. So that answers your question.
She's one of the good kids.
Spell your first and last name.
My name is Isaiah, ISAIAH Davis, DAVIS.
And you're a senior. You're a graduating senior?
Yes, from Creative Arts.
Thank you.
And just to add, black people across the country are uncomfortable. Black people across the country are highly uncomfortable, feeling very uncomfortable and very, very intimidated. Because if you have to watch people murdered on TV, if you have to watch people murdered at the hands of police officers and no justice is served, we are highly uncomfortable. So for anyone who's thinking that living in a city that has a national platform now of using this police force as an idea of what can be done, talk to the residents and find out how uncomfortable we are. We don't feel secure, we don't feel fully confident, but we know together with us as a community, we can build something stronger if you have community at the table. It cannot be an abuse of power and a prescription to the residents. So today we thank you for coming out and joining us in this conversation. And again, we caution national media outlets, local, statewide, and the residents of Camden, don't believe the hype. Thank you.
Tell President Obama he's welcome to come and talk to us.
If you all need resources,
Summit with President Obama.
Yes.
if you want to get resources from the facts that we gave, the data we gave, it's available for you. It can be emailed to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job, everybody. Great job.
And reach a whole another generation that has read this stuff.
I've been in Camden all my life. My son is the union president, the teachers union president, and I personally have more young black men attend Ivy League schools like Harvard, like University of Pennsylvania, like Columbia, and of course HBCUs too, like Howard, than probably the entire school system.